Part 1. It was a cold, wind-whipped evening on a deserted stretch of highway out in the heartland of America when word spread of a macabre discovery. The body of Albert Mitchell, a respectable retiree known for his gentleness and quiet dignity, had been found lying on the side of the road. At first glance, the incident was dismissed as a tragic accident, a misfortune in the twilight hours. But as the investigators began to piece together the puzzle, a series of chilling details emerged that would forever change the narrative. In this seemingly routine case, nothing was as it appeared. The forensic team, with painstaking precision, analyzed every clue left at the scene. Among these were a set of tire tread marks that defied expectations. These marks told a story of their own, a story that hinted at something far more deliberate than an unfortunate mishap. Instead of slowing down in the moments before the collision, the vehicle, which had remained hidden until that fateful moment, appeared to have accelerated into the path of the unsuspecting man. The evidence was silent but forcefully persuasive, a planned act of recklessness, if not outright malice. As the investigation unfolded, whispers began to emerge within the tight-knit community. Who would want harm to befall a kind, unassuming man like Albert? Suspicion, as it so often does in cases that defy easy explanation, began to focus on individuals who stood to gain from his untimely death. One such person was his nephew, Christopher Davis, a man whose life was suddenly poised for a dramatic turnaround. In the wake of Albert's passing, Christopher was set to inherit not only his late uncle's modest apartment, but also the stability and comfort it provided. Yet this potential windfall also painted him in a dubious light. Meanwhile, another name seeped into the conversation, a woman named Rebecca Collins, with whom Albert had clashed on more than one occasion. Their contentious history was well known among local circles, and clues only deepened the mystery. As forensic experts continued their meticulous examination of the scene, a startling detail came to light. The tires implicated in the incident matched a vehicle that now had an identity of its own. The discovery of a car linked to the track marks set the stage for an investigation steeped in suspense and complexity. In the cool blue glow of night, as the echoes of distant sirens mingled with the soft hum of curiosity, the case began to take on an almost cinematic quality. Each new piece of evidence, each whispered theory, only fanned the flames of intrigue. Could this be a case of cold-blooded premeditation, hidden behind the veil of an accident? And if so, how deep did the conspiracy run? With questions swirling in the minds of both the investigators and the community at large, the stage was set for an investigation that promised to challenge everything known about justice, loyalty, and the human capacity for betrayal. In the days that followed, the investigation took on an almost surreal intensity. Detectives scoured the town, their eyes ever watchful for any sign, any whisper that might unravel the tangled threads of the case. Rumors swirled in hushed tones in local diners and barbershops, each person adding their own tinted perspective to the mosaic of suspicion. A keen-eyed detective, Officer Brian Turner, began to dig deeper into the lives of those connected to the tragic event. He re-interviewed witnesses and scrutinized each detail, determined to piece together a coherent narrative from fragments of testimony and forensic analysis. As Brian meticulously re-examined the evidence, a pattern began to emerge that went far beyond a mere accident. The same enigmatic tire marks, so carefully recorded and preserved by the forensic team, led him to a vehicle registered to one Cassandra Morgan, a longtime resident who had been no stranger to conflict with the deceased. Cassandra, with her fierce temper and tangled past with Albert Mitchell, quickly became a focal point in the investigation. Her alibi, seemingly airtight at first glance, began to unravel under the relentless scrutiny of Officer Turner's persistent inquiries. Every new revelation added layers of mystery, transforming the case into something more sinister and calculated than anyone could have foreseen. The experts brought in for a second look at the tire impressions confirmed what the initial analysis had hinted at. The driver's behavior was not that of someone merely caught in an accident. There was a madness, a deliberate callousness about deliberately accelerating right into the path of an innocent man. As the investigation pressed on, forensic evidence began to tell a story of its own. Minute traces of substances were found on the car's exterior, suggesting that Cassandra might have been involved in a broader plan to cover her tracks. Meanwhile, financial records hinted at another, less obvious beneficiary of Albert's death, Unbeknownst to many, a distant cousin by marriage, Jeremy Foster, had quietly been maneuvering behind the scenes, his eyes fixed on a modest inheritance that promised to ease his mounting debts. The labyrinthine nature of the case, with multiple parties emerging as potential culprits, sent shockwaves through the community. Every thread of evidence led deeper into a network of long-standing grudges, hidden resentments, and secret ambitions. And yet, amidst the swirling complexities, a nagging question persisted. Was it possible that a single, calculated decision could spiral into such catastrophic consequences? With Cassandra's car recovered and the incriminating tire tracks now firmly linked to her vehicle, the line between accident and premeditated murder began to blur. Detective Turner, with his steely resolve, followed the breadcrumbs laid out by fate and forensic science, determined to uncover not just a motive, but the very heart of a betrayal that had shattered a family's peace. In the shadows of midnight, as neon lights flickered in roadside diners and the quiet hum of everyday life continued oblivious to the undercurrents of treachery, the community was left to grapple with a haunting truth. In a world where appearances can be deceiving, how well do we really know the people we trust? In the dark underbelly of this perplexing case, the trail of evidence continued to twist in unexpected directions. Detective Brian Turner, undeterred by mounting obstacles and the relentless maze of red herrings, pressed on with a singular determination to uncover the truth behind Albert Mitchell's tragic demise. Further analysis of the recovered vehicle and its substance traces revealed an even more sinister connection. With each passing day, it became increasingly clear that Cassandra Morgan's involvement might be only the surface of a far more elaborate conspiracy. In quiet corners of the city, whispers of secret meetings and clandestine arrangements grew louder. Turner discovered that Cassandra had been entangled in a network of financial desperation and personal vendettas that stretched back years, a labyrinth of debts, broken promises, and dangerous liaisons. Just as the pieces began to align, another twist emerged. New forensic evidence linked an overlooked piece of debris to a rare type of tire tread pattern known to be used in limited edition vehicles favored by a discreet circle of well-connected individuals. Among these was a shadowy figure named Derek Lawson, whose outward charm belied an involvement in a covert circle of business magnates and local power brokers. His connection to Cassandra hinted that their collision was more than an impulsive act of anger. It was a carefully calculated maneuver executed to eliminate Albert, a man who, despite his unassuming nature, had inadvertently stumbled upon secrets that some powerful players were desperate to bury. As Turner navigated through layers of deception, from altered phone records to hidden bank transactions, the investigation began to unravel a tapestry of betrayal and greed that defied simple explanation. The once quiet streets of the American town were now resonating with fear and uncertainty. As friends turned suspicious, and enemies found themselves unexpectedly entwined in the scheme. The meticulous detective realized that the case was no longer just about a single wrongful death, but had burgeoned into a struggle between dark ambitions and the unwavering pursuit of truth. With every new clue, the stakes grew higher. Evidence pointed to a meticulously orchestrated plan, where even the seemingly external figures like Christopher Davis, the opportunistic nephew set to inherit the modest apartment, or Jeremy Foster, the cunning cousin maneuvering amidst mounting debts, were unwitting pawns in a larger, more sinister game. The inquiry into their affairs, too, bore secrets that might have radically tilted the balance of power and fortune among those involved. Under the harsh glare of relentless interrogation, alliances shifted, and every participant was forced to confront the possibility of lethal miscalculation. In the final analysis of mounting testimonies and meticulously corroborated forensic reports, one stark conclusion emerged. The collision that ended Albert's life was no accident. It was a premeditated act, an exploitation of chance and chaos orchestrated by those who believed that even the smallest misstep could open doors to fortunes and dark favors. As the case drew to a close, the shadow of doubt wavered over every promising lead, leaving lingering questions about the true depth of the conspiracy. Was it the unbridled greed of familiar faces that had driven them to such drastic measures, or had the machinations of unseen, higher forces been at play all along? And as Detective Turner's determined gaze swept over a town now forever altered by hidden turmoil and treachery, one critical question remains simmering in the minds of all who followed the twists and turns of this narrative. In a complex web of deception, ambition, and betrayal, how far are we willing to look beneath the surface to find the truth?